Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another episode of Evangelist Life. As you guys notice on the screen, uh, Governor Ivey here in the state of Alabama is wanting signs House bill to secure Alabama land draws opposition from foreign residents. So let's talk about it. I'm going to just kind of read the article and then we're going to have a discussion about it. So basically, in a nutshell, Governor Ivey wants to pass a bill in the law that's going to basically prohibit certain foreign groups from purchasing certain type of land here in the state of Alabama. So we're going to go through this article together and then we're going to have a discussion. So let's go. On Wednesday, Governor Ivey signed the Alabama Property Act, the Property Protection Act, to secure Alabama land. In a statement from Governor Ivey's office, that upon taking this necessary step to protect Alabama's agricultural resources, military installations, and critical infrastructure from countries of concern. House Bill 379, called the Alabama Property Protection Act, prohibits certain governments or governmental entities from acquiring certain real estate. Certain real property in the states. The bill will prohibit foreign principles of concern, such as China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, from purchasing property used for agriculture or forestry or and around military posts, airport, airport, airports, can't even talk, seaports, power plants, water and wastewater treatment plants, gas terminals, and certain critical facilities. When the bill passes the House, it drew major opposition from Chinese Americans living in Alabama due to the bill initially banning Chinese citizens, even those living and working in Alabama, from buying property in the state. The bill passed in the Senate with a 26-7 vote. All right, I'm going to chime in on this for a minute. Now, personally, when I first looked at this article, I'm going to be honest, I would say on the surface, I'm like, hell yeah, I agree with that 250%. Now, although I think that is a good bill to pass into law, and other states have already done it, and I think it should be all over the United States, I will say one huge issue I see with the way that the governor wrote this bill was it's way too discriminatory. My attitude is rather than discriminating and only targeting certain people from certain countries, I think the way the bill ought to be written is if you're not a United States citizen, you reserve no rights to own land in the United States. Now, me personally, I would take it a step farther. And I would have it to where not only can you not own any properties in certain, not only can you not own the properties that were discussed in this article, but I would take it as far as, hey, if you're not a United States citizen, you're not allowed to own any kind of property, not even residential. And I would have wrote it also as I don't. I mean, Like I said, I think this bill, the way it's written right now, is way too discriminatory. I think Alabama should spread the love, and they should just put it, hey, if you're not a United States citizen, then you don't get to own land in this country. You don't get to own land in Alabama. And what I mean by that is, I don't care if the person is from Canada. Canada is not the United States. So therefore, that person would not get to own land in the United States. That's how the bill ought to be written. Because the way they got it written is very discriminatory, and it's going to most likely cause a lot of issues down the road, which I will be discussing later on in this video. Let's keep going. So after the bill was signed, Governor Ivey issued a statement in the press release. Across the United States, we have seen alarming instances of foreign entities purchasing large tracts of land, which could have severe consequences for our country's national defense and economy. If no action is taken from our forest to our farmland, Alabama is blessed with an abundance of high valuable natural resources that must be protected. So far, I agree with her because Alabama does have a lot of natural resources that do need to be protected. And given the climate that's in Alabama, there's certain natural resources that are here in Alabama that you're not going to find in places that are like further up north. Let's keep going. We also have a large military presence, and Alabama will always do our part to put the security of our country and our people first. And yeah, we do have a fairly sizable military presence throughout the state of Alabama. The simple fact of the matter is that foreign governments have no business owning land in Alabama. You know what? I agree with her on that. The only issue, like I said just a minute ago, the only issue with the way this bill is written is she targets only certain foreigners. She should have it it should to where this bill should go for all. It should apply to all foreigners. So the simple fact of the matter is that foreign governments have no business owning land in Alabama. Okay, well, we read that, and I am proud to sign this bill and ensure that it will never be the case going forward. Okay, those are the words of Governor Ivey. Let's keep going. The bill was sponsored by Representative Scott S. in the House and carried by Senator David Sessions in the Senate. Okay, folks. And again, for those of you that are from a state that has a bill similar to this, and I believe a couple of the states that have bills very similar to this are going to be Texas and the state of Florida. So if you're from any of those states, and if you're from Alabama, I would love to hear from you in the comment section of how you feel about this particular bill going into law. Now, do I think this bill is going to go into law? I do. Do I think there's going to be a lot of issues that arise off of this bill? I do. And I'm going to briefly discuss what some of those issues could be. Issue number one, and these issues are going in no particular order. Lawsuits throughout the United States that have bills like this are going to start being passed around like hors d'oeuvres. Like I would say here in Alabama, Alabama lawmakers better go ahead and go to their closest grocery store, get them a nice huge thing of, well, eggnog is only served during Christmas time, so they can't get eggnog, but they better go to their local grocery store closest to them and get whatever beverage that they enjoy drinking, that they enjoy sipping on, because I can speculate that lawsuits are going to start being served like hors d'oeuvres by these groups of people that are being targeted under this bill. So now I'm gonna go and bring up another article here, or at least try to where the Chinese community pushes back. This article, let's see, here we go. Okay, Chinese Americans fight back against bans on buying property. Asian Americans are fighting back against what they see as a discriminatory effect to ban Chinese citizens from buying property in certain areas. Again, as I stated a minute ago, I do believe, I do think that the way that this bill is written is very discriminatory. So I would have to agree with that. While supporters of these bills cast their policies as a targeting, now man, as a targeting malign influence from the Chinese Communist Party, Asian Americans and their advocates worry the bill or the where's my mouse at? Only barely blocking access to the American dream. The battle is raging in Florida, where a new law targets Chinese citizens, and in other states like Texas, where similar bills have been proposed. These are Chinese Americans who have come here to build a better life, said Willis called him. Willis called this person NM. Cause I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name. Executive Director of Texas Progressive Group, Rise AAPI, which has helped to organize against the Texas bill. And what you're telling them is that's not good enough. We welcome you here with open arms, but we're not going to give you the same rights and privileges as everyone else has. And let's see. Well, I'm gonna kind of, there's something I want to say to that, but I think I'm gonna keep it to myself for the sake of not getting demonetized. So let's keep on going. The state fights also to come amid to a broader fight over Chinese ownership of U.S. land, with former President Trump promising to push to ban Chinese purchases of farmland and other critical infrastructures if he retakes the White House. The and various proposals of Capitol Hill to impose such restrictions. Last month, Florida Governor Ron S., another leading GOP presidential contender, signed a law making it a felony for people to domicile in China to buy property in Florida unless they're a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident. The Texas Senate passed a bill in April that would ban citizens of China and other foreign adversaries from buying property. with certain exceptions. Through it died in the House when the Texas legislative session ended Monday. Alabama House passed a similar bill in May, which was scaled back to focus on hostile governments before passing the Senate. Many other states have passed or considered narrower bills that only focus on agricultural land or banning purchases by entities affiliated with the Chinese government. But the broader bill in the states like Texas and Florida have drawn particularly fierce pushback. Okay, I need to chime in. And I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. Now, other than the fact that lawsuits are going to most likely be served like hors d'oeuvres in the very near future, here in the state of Alabama, if that bill is passed into law, another issue that I can see happening here in Alabama is, I mean, let's be completely honest. I mean, the economy in southern middle to southern Alabama is not all that big, and it is definitely not the strongest. I mean, yes, right now the that those regions of Alabama, they do have a functioning economy, but it's not the strongest, and it's clearly not the biggest either. Now, one of the largest employers in mid southern Alabama, i.e., the greater Montgomery, Alabama area, is going to be Hyundai. I mean, for those of you that don't know this, the Hyundai plant is located in Montgomery, Alabama, and there's also several smaller factories that are sprinkled throughout the state of Alabama that manufacture parts for Hyundai. So huge Hyundai has played a very huge role in employing many people in Alabama, especially people that are from the southern middle to the to the southeast region of Alabama. So I forgot. So yeah, well, basically what I'm trying to say is, if this bill goes into law the way it's currently written, I can definitely see the Asian community giving the state of Alabama the peripheral middle finger and closing down the Hyundai plant, closing down all the factories that manufacture parts for Hyundai, taking their family and moving next door into Georgia, where if they go over to Georgia, they can continue to pay the same wages in Georgia as they currently pay here in Alabama. And there's just as much of a need for workers in Georgia as there are in many parts of Alabama. Now, unless Georgia comes out and they decide to follow pursuit with Florida and here in Alabama and Texas, which, not to get too political, but Georgia being a blue state, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think if Alabama pisses off the Asian community, it's very possible that many parts of Alabama could experience a substantial loss of employment and and also a substantial population lost through many of the communities that are located in the southern middle part of Alabama, than what has already taken place over the last couple of decades in that region of Alabama. Earlier, I said Southeast Alabama. Now, I think the majority of the jobs that are connected to Hyundai are going to more so be in the southern middle part of Alabama. Which, again, when I say southern middle, I'm talking the Black Belt region. I'm also talking about the greater Montgomery area, which really, really Montgomery, Alabama is a part of the Black Belt. So, yeah, I'm talking about, like I said, the southern middle section of Alabama, or southern central, whatever you want to call it. That's a part of Alabama that I'm talking about. So, yeah, if this bill goes into law, I definitely see a lot of bad things happening here in the state of Alabama, all the way from many of your state leaders being served lawsuits like hors d'oeuvres without the eggnog, without the freshly baked Christmas cookies to go with it, along with many jobs being lost, and therefore many parts of Alabama losing even more people than what they've already lost. So, yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of this bill? I would love to hear from you in the comment section. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and leave it right here. So, you all have a blessed